Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving straight into the history of the FIFA World Cup today. But look, we aren't going to talk about the giant, polished, corporate mega event that we all know. Instead, we're tracing the hero's journey of a single, powerful, and frankly, kind of crazy idea that literally changed the planet.
6 billion. Let that staggering number sink in for a second. That's more than 3/4 of humanity. 3/4 of every human being alive on Earth, all dropping whatever it is they're doing, sitting down in their living rooms, crowding into bars, or just huddling over their phones to watch a single game together. It's just an unmatched level of human synchronization.
But to really wrap our heads around those 6 billion viewers, we've got to contrast it with this incredibly quiet, vivid origin story. Picture this. The year is 1930. A man named Jules Rimet is standing on the deck of a ship. The ocean is wide, it's gray, the wind is freezing cold, and he's holding a small bag close to his chest, containing a 4-kilogram golden trophy. Most people at the time thought he was completely out of his mind, but he was traveling all the way to Uruguay with this quiet, stubborn belief that football could actually become a language to unite the world.
Which brings us to the core question guiding our entire explainer today. How exactly did a game, one that, as we'll see, was once practiced by a poor kid using a grapefruit stuffed in a sock, become a universal language that the entire world speaks? The stakes for this story are absolutely enormous.
Section 1. A crazy golden idea. The origins of the World Cup.
Okay, let's rewind a bit to the very origins of international football, because this massive global tournament barely even got off the ground. It actually starts with a total non-event. In 1872, on a freezing Tuesday in Glasgow, Scotland, the first official international match between England and Scotland ends in a 0-0 draw. No goals, no drama, just completely forgettable by modern standards. But that tiny spark snowballed. By 1924, a small nation named Uruguay dazzles Europe with this fast, creative, joyful style at the Olympics, stunning everyone who thought only Europeans could play the game. Seeing this magic firsthand, Jules Rimet proposes the standalone World Cup in 1928, which leads directly to that very first tournament in Uruguay in 1930.
Now, if you're picturing that first tournament as some highly organized professional machine, think again. For the 1930 World Cup, King Carol II of Romania actually read through a list of players and personally selected his nation's squad. I mean, imagine a king picking the starting lineup. It was wild and totally unpolished. Only 13 teams made that brutal ship journey across the ocean, and a 23-year-old Frenchman named Lucien Laurent scored the first goal ever. A name that, honestly, is almost entirely forgotten today.
Section 2. Underdogs and beautiful games.
So the crucial takeaway as we move into this next era is the ultimate lesson the tournament just kept teaching the world over and over. In football, the small can beat the large, and literally no result is ever guaranteed. Just listen to this quote. "Only 3 people have ever silenced the Maracana: Frank Sinatra, the Pope, and me." That was said by the Uruguayan player who scored the winning goal in the 1950 World Cup. See, Brazil had built the massive Maracana Stadium to hold 200,000 fans. They fully expected to win the tournament on home soil, but Uruguay shocked them, winning 2-1. That deafening, chaotic celebration of 200,000 Brazilian fans turned into absolute, crushing silence in a single instant. It's a dramatic moment forever known as the Maracanazo. And this brilliantly sets up the magic of Brazil's redemption and the golden era that followed. Let's look at 2 absolute underdogs turned legends. First, Pelé, a 17-year-old prodigy who grew up so incredibly poor he practiced with a grapefruit stuffed in a sock. He bursts onto the scene in 1958, weeping tears of pure joy as his teammates carry him off the pitch after winning the final. And then you have Garrincha. When Pelé was injured in the 1962 World Cup, Garrincha, who was nicknamed the Little Bird and grew up with severely deformed legs that curved inward and outward, just joyfully carried the entire team on his back. Doctors had told him he would never run properly, yet he became this unstoppable dribbler and secured Brazil's second title. Incredible, right? Together, these eras gave the world a legendary phrase you definitely know: Jogo Bonito, the beautiful game. This whole concept of joyful, unified football was permanently cemented in the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. In the final, 11 Brazilian players moved together like one single mind. It all culminated in a flawless team goal where Carlos Alberto absolutely hammered a pass from Pelé without even breaking stride. It gave us that iconic photograph of Pelé crying on the pitch, defining football as a pure, joyful art form for an entire generation.
Section 3. Surviving wars and thieves.
But look, the journey wasn't all just beautiful goals and trophy lifts. This story faced incredibly dark years where the tournament's very survival seemed absolutely impossible. So how did the World Cup survive its darkest years? Imagine the entire tournament just disappearing, swallowed up by the Second World War in the 1940s. Stadiums were suddenly converted into military bases. Players became soldiers. The whole dream was completely put on ice. And that sets up two of the most unbelievable stories in all of sports history.
Get this, during World War II, a FIFA vice president named Ottorino Barassi makes a really quiet, dangerous decision. He secretly wraps the golden trophy in some old cloth and hides it in a shoebox right under his bed for 3 years. He checked on it every single night while the war literally raged all around him. Then, fast forward to 1966 in London. The trophy gets stolen right before the tournament. It was missing for 4 panic-filled days until a dog named Pickles, yes, Pickles, sniffing around a garden, finds it wrapped in newspaper under a bush, instantly becoming a national hero. The tournament survived all these crazy events because, at the end of the day, the World Cup isn't just a golden object you can hide in a box or steal. It's what happens in the hearts of billions of people.
Section 4. The world joins in. Opening the doors.
So let's move into our next chapter and see how this builds into the modern era. Because the tournament quickly realized it couldn't just remain a closed-off club for European and South American nations forever. For decades, whole continents were basically stuck on the outside looking in. So in 1966, African nations took a stand and completely boycotted the tournament. They demanded their own guaranteed qualification spots. Their message was loud and clear: we exist and we will not be ignored. And you know what? The protest worked. By 1970, Africa secured its guaranteed places, and this powerful fight culminated beautifully in 2010 when South Africa became the very first African host nation, filling stadiums worldwide with that deafening, proud blast of the vuvuzela horn. It was an entire continent finally saying, "This game belongs to us too."
And this global explosion happened really rapidly. I mean, we started with just 13 teams making that brutal boat trip back in 1930. By 1982, the doors opened wider, expanding up to 24 teams. This let the game travel to places where football was barely a blip on the radar, like the United States in 1994, and finally over to Asia when South Korea and Japan co-hosted in 2002. And just look at the massive jump to the modern day. By 2026, we're expanding to an incredible 48 teams.
And when you open those doors to the whole world, you get these incredibly raw, emotional, human stories. Take 2022. Morocco became the very first African team in history to reach the semifinals. Right after scoring a winning penalty, their star player, Achraf Hakimi, runs straight into the stands to hug his mother. This is a woman who had spent years cleaning houses in Spain just so her son could have a better life. This deeply moving moment shows us exactly what the World Cup has become. It's not just a sports competition anymore. It's a global mirror reflecting our pride, our joy, and our shared human experience.
Section 5. 6 billion hearts beating together.
Which brings us right up to the present day, and the most massive stage this crazy idea has ever seen in human history. Just think about the sheer scale of the upcoming 2026 tournament. For the first time ever, it's going to be shared by 3 nations: the USA, Mexico, and Canada. It's being played across 16 different cities. 48 teams of absolute dreamers and heavy favorites will take the stage. When that referee's whistle blows, it's going to unite billions of people watching in living rooms, on their phones, and in packed bars. People who speak thousands of different languages, who have completely different cultures. For 90 minutes, they're going to understand exactly what is happening. Together.
154. What's so fascinating about this number is that it's been exactly 154 years since that totally forgettable 0-0 draw on a freezing afternoon in Glasgow. Think about the immense, sprawling journey this sport has taken since that cold Tuesday to get to where we are today.
And honestly, it brings our story perfectly full circle. Jules Rimet's crazy idea out on that gray ocean survived world wars, political storms, actual thieves, in deep poverty to genuinely unite the globe. He had absolutely zero proof it would work when he carried that small golden trophy in a bag. He didn't know what his idea was going to become. He just believed in it, and he kept going. And because of that one quiet belief, the world changed. So here's what I want to leave you with today, a slightly provocative question. What quiet idea are you carrying? Maybe it's a hope or a belief that others can't quite see yet. Maybe people have even told you it's a little crazy and the road ahead looks like a long, cold ocean crossing. But remember Jules Rimet on that ship. That quiet thing inside you, the one that just keeps going, that's not small, and it might just be enough to change everything. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope it sparks some wonder and give you a whole new appreciation for the beautiful game. Catch you next time.